Good evening and welcome to the presentation for Counselor Professional Identity and Function. This is the Orientation to the Counseling Profession presentation. My name is Julie Pelosi. Let's get started. So we were tasked with choosing a chapter to review and pull out key points that stuck out to us as aspiring counselors and to analyze how we think that those points could affect us as future counselors. So it seems basic, but I've actually picked chapter 1, Becoming a Professional Counselor. This is my third course in my master's classes. I only started last semester, so I'm still sort of new. And my undergrad had no psychology whatsoever. So this is all brand new information for me. So this actually, where I am today right now, I feel is the most relevant to me. So let's get into chapter 1. So the first point that stood out to me was the helping professions as a whole and the categorization or differentiation between a psychologist, a social worker, and then a professional counselor. So starting out with what would take the most schooling would be a psychologist. That would require a doctorate degree. That would also need licensure from the state where that person is practicing. The focus for a psychologist is more on long-term psychotherapy, more serious emotional personality disorders. Their focus is diagnosing. I actually thought I wanted to be a psychologist when I first started this journey, started researching, and then was quickly deterred when I saw how much schooling would need to go into it. A little closer related to a professional counselor is a social worker. So this position requires a master's degree rather than a doctorate, needs licensure from the state where they are practicing as well. And the focus for a social worker is on social justice, client advocacy, identifying these barriers to a client being successful, and aligning them with resources that they can use. This is a beautiful career choice, but it is not the career choice that I envision for myself. So the professional counselor is where I saw myself after doing a lot of research. A master's degree is also required. Licensure is also required. And I liked the focus on whole human development, more wellness, still advocating for a client, but empowering them to also advocate for themselves. I love people. I'm currently a teacher of high school students, and I just get such joy in interacting with and helping people become the best version of themselves. And I'm excited to jump into this new endeavor. The second point from chapter 1 that stuck out to me was looking at all of the sort of at a high level view, looking at our picture here, going off that high level view of the theories and ideas that people have had coming before where we are today on what is human nature composed of, how can we best help humans that are struggling. And the textbook did a great job of breaking it down into these 3 waves. So the first wave was the psychodynamic wave. These founders included people like Freud and Adler, and the view that they had of human nature is based on internal drives, unconscious thoughts. What is your story? Where did you come from? What was your family like? All things that add up to you being the person that you are today. So looking at you as an individual and your past selves, and internally your unconscious mind, things like that. The second wave, the cognitive behavioral wave, the founders include Ellis, Byrne, and Super. And the view of human nature in this theory is that all humans have the capacity for change and growth. I resonate with this theory so much, but I understand that there will be times when we need to dip into all the theories. So I'm excited to learn about all of them, but I'm expecting and hopeful that this could be the theory that I get to apply in my professional capacity the most. Lastly, the humanistic existential theory. These founders include Carl Rogers, among others. And the view of human nature is that humans are basically good. There's an inherent potential to make good choices in the interest of yourself and others. I think, like I said, I've been a teacher for 10 years, and in my 10 years, I can report that pretty much everybody I have come across, I would agree with this view of human nature, is that people are all basically good. They're trying to do the best thing for themselves. And then the last point that stood out to me is that we looked at what is a counselor exactly, how did that profession become to be defined as it is today, and then as a counselor in the field today, how are we going to stay practicing for as long as we can? So having these professional and personal practices in place to stay in practice for as long as you can. So let's look at the first one. So looking at personal wellness, needed for any profession, being of sound mind, body, and spirit is great for any job, but for a counselor especially, if we are meant to lead people and help people becoming the best versions of themselves, if that is our charge, then we have to lead by example. I found a great study that I have linked here and also my reference page. And the quote that they had is, "Wellness is not the absence of illness, but a dynamic process of growth and achieving one's fullest potential." And I think that the many models that they dive into, they all have elements of optimizing your body, mind, and spirit. And I liked the idea that something doesn't have to be falling apart to be at a detrimental state. And that doesn't mean, we don't want to let it get to that point. We want it to be its best self. And that's a constant evolving, a constant moving target. And then finally, professional wellness. So how are we going to address burnout? The textbook has this section specifically on new grads, interns, master's degree student, grad students. So finding, as we come out of our degree and go into our internships, finding those organizations that are going to support us, support the whole individual, not just, the person that's clocking in and clocking out. And, are you meeting your numbers, and are you having an appropriate caseload? Wanting to make sure that we are also doing well outside. Receiving emotional support from colleagues and mentors. As a teacher, in my experience, this has been the thing that will make or break you. I have been blessed with amazing colleagues and mentors and students, and it makes the job so, it's not a job, it's just a career. It's a way to spend your days that's enjoyable and fulfilling. And then enhancing self-awareness as counselors, so we can avoid some common pitfalls that all new counselors can be privy to. So lack of boundaries, wanting to always help your clients no matter the time of day, outside of sessions, inside of sessions. And then assuming sole responsibility. So assuming that we alone are responsible for their wellness, and they taking away the agency from them, which is not a good place to be. So just a quick recap, looking at chapter 1 in the orientation to the counseling profession, we covered 3 big points. Point 1, looking at how the counseling profession came to be defined. Point 2, looking at all of the, or not all, but a large grouping of theories that shaped what counseling has become today. And then point 3, the need for continuous wellness as aspiring counselors enter into this field and want to stay in this field for as long as they can. Here's my reference slides for the material used. Thank you very much and have a good night.